Hello everyone. So sorry about the different angle. The lighting is not as perfect because I'm sitting literally right in front of my window, but the camera's over here. So like you're gonna have a little bit of awkward lighting. I have plugged in my little like filming light that I have, but it only does so much, you know? In today's video, we are doing ranking every single 5-star I've ever read. So I've set up a little tier ranking system and we're gonna go through all of the 5 stars. I think I have all of them. I was really bad at tracking my 5 stars when I was younger. So like I'm just going based off memory. But this year I've been really good at tracking like what's 5 stars, what's not. So without further ado, grab a drink, grab a snack, and let's get into the video. I have an actual caffeinated coffee. I know, naughty considering I have, well, we think I have POTS, but I needed it. I've been up since 3 a.m. so like I needed the caffeine today. Okay, so obviously like this video has gone around quite a lot of like tier ranking anything, whether it's book related, memes, whatever it is. So you guys should be familiar with this particular site that we have. I am gonna have to put my glasses on to see properly, but for now I can tell you what it is. So for me, with my 5 stars, there's different levels of 5 stars, and some of the books that I've rated 5 stars, I'm like, I don't know if that was deserving of a 5 star. So I think this will be really fun to do. The top one, which is like taking it with me, like I will never leave it behind, we have would save from a burning house. So like the house is burning down, I'm running in to go get it. The second one we have is like, I get it, like I understand the hype, I understand why I rated it 5 stars, I get it, I get it, that's what that is. Then we have I'll stand by it. So, oh sorry, yeah, I'll stand by it. So that is, you know, I would still say it's a 5 star, but it's still nothing to like write home about, if that makes sense. I'm not like super excited about it, but it's still a 5 star, it's still a great book. Then the next one down we have Girl, Are You Okay? Like, are we sure we should be rating that 5 stars? Like I don't really care to be rating it 5 stars. Now thinking about it, if I reread it, I most likely wouldn't rate it 5 stars. And then the bottom one we have is Bin It. In the bin, no, not a 5 star. Don't know what I was thinking. In the bin. Not saying that like it's a 1-star rating compared to a 5 star, just like in the bin for rating it that. Like I need to go headfirst into the bin for rating it like that. So, and then obviously you can see we've got all of the books that I've rated 5 stars. So without further ado, let's get into ranking these. Also, I just realized that this is going to be a really difficult video to edit, which is going to be so much fun. But anyway, okay, glasses are going on so I can see clearly. So one of the first ones that I'm going to do is Eclipse by Stephanie Meyer, which is obviously the 3rd book in the Twilight series. Yes, the 3rd book in the Twilight series. I really loved Twilight as a teen, but now it is definitely not my favorite. I have reread it as I've gotten older, and girl, like Edward is like, it's a little concerning. Like, so I think I'm gonna put it in like Girl, Are You Okay? Because I don't know what I was doing rating that 5 stars. So that's gonna go in that one. Then, okay, so like I said, these aren't like perfectly in order of when I read them. However, I do know that like Hunger Games, Divergent, The Host, City of Bones, Twilight, I read all them around the same time. So we're gonna go with Divergent next. I'm just gonna move some of these up. Okay, let's go Divergent next, because I think Divergent and The Hunger Games were around the same time. I read them anyway, even though they might not have come out at the same time. I read them around the same time. So like once I discovered them. So Divergent. I don't remember what I rated the rest of the series. I do remember reading it, but let's just say like the series as a whole, I'm pretty sure I would have rated it something like 5 stars. I am really bad with the books that I read when I was younger. I don't really remember them too much, and I remember the movies more than the books. I think that's just because I subconsciously blocked out a lot of my teenage years just from trauma and stuff like that. So I don't really remember like which ones out of the series were my favorite. That's why I've just gone with the first ones, because I know that like they were a favorite and I would have rated them 5 stars back then. And so we're just gonna go with the series as a whole. So for Divergent, I would put it in, yeah, I'll stand by it. From what I remember of the series, I really enjoyed reading it, especially at the time. I think now if I was to go back and read it, I probably wouldn't enjoy it as much because it's not aimed for like adults. In saying that, I still love watching the movies nowadays. Then next up we have Hunger Games, or The Hunger Games. Again, this is like another one of those things where I don't really remember which one out of the series was my favorite. I used to get bullied a lot for like reading books, and these were some of the books that I was reading at the time when I was getting bullied. So I feel like a lot of my thoughts, feelings and opinions and what happened in the actual books specifically, because I know that the books and the movies are very different between both of those series. I don't really remember like specific details about the books and all that sort of stuff. So, but again, I think I'm gonna go with, yeah, I'll stand by it. I just think that like overall the Hunger Games series is really good, and again, that's why I've just put the first one, because I don't remember specifically what one I rated 5 stars. I don't think it was the first book in either of those series, but just overall. But still, like, yeah, I'll stand by it. Again, Hunger Games is still one of those movies that I love to watch. I love watching all 3 of them. I haven't read past the first, like the original trilogy. I haven't read the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I haven't read that, and I also haven't read Sunrise on the Reaping. I probably should, but I've just never bothered. Again, they kind of came out in that time where I wasn't reading. So City of Bones. So again, that whole series, I have read most of the City of Bones, like the Shadowhunter series. So like the first 6 books, it's City of Bones through to, I think it's City of Heavenly Fire. I have just gotten rid of them from my bookshelves. You guys would have seen in the Bookmas videos last week, but I still do really love the series, but I just didn't see the point in keeping them there. I'm probably not going to continue on with the rest of the Cassandra Clare universe, not unless I go into the newer universe that she's just created that is more adult. I don't see myself going back to these. However, I get it with this series. I got my child's name from it. I do love the series. Again, I've watched the Netflix series. It is very different. The books are very different to the Netflix series, but I get it. Like, I get the hype. I understand why I loved it so much when I was a kid. I understand why, you know, teenagers now still really love it. So like, I get it. I get it. Next up, we have The Host by Stephenie Meyer. Now, this is my favorite Stephenie Meyer book that I have ever read. I obviously read the Twilight series, and the only other book I read was The Host. And between the two of them, The Host was my favorite. I still have it on my shelf. To be fair, I do have the entire Twilight series on my shelf, but I have them hidden, whereas The Host is actually somewhat visible. It's behind this guy at the moment, but I just love the concept of it. I loved the storyline of it. The movie adaptation of this book is actually pretty close to the book, and I really enjoyed the movie too. The book is still better, always is better when you read the book. So if you ever do want to go watch the movie, read the book first. I think that you miss some like little finer details. However, I think that the movie, they did a really good job with the movie, and this is a book that I would say from a burning house, which is crazy to think that after all this time, you know, I read this when I might have been like 15, 16, and after all this time, I still love that book. I still think about it. I still think about it. I still think about what happened in it. I still think about the concept. I just really, really love that book. So I would run into a burning house and save that book. Okay, moving on to when I was about 19. I read this series. Beautiful Disaster is the next one by Jamie Maguire. This series, thinking back to it now, I probably wouldn't rate it a 5-star. Well, Beautiful Disaster, I probably would rate a 5-star. I really, really loved Beautiful Disaster. It would be interesting to do a reread and see how much I loved it, because even stuff that I read at the start of last year when I first started getting back into reading, I don't think I'd rate some of them 5 stars. We're gonna get to that in a minute, but I wouldn't rate some of them 5 stars now. Beautiful Disaster, I'm gonna put in, I'll stand by it, especially for now because I haven't done a reread of it. I would love to reread it and see it. Do not watch the movie on this series. It is absolutely shocking. It is so cringy compared to the books. I do remember there being some cringy moments in the books, but the movies are so much worse, like so much worse. Like, absolutely not. They shouldn't have. They just destroyed it. Amazon Prime did it, and they destroyed the book. For me, the series. The next book that we're going to talk about is Walking Disaster, and that actually runs along the same timeline, just the male's POV. So Beautiful Disaster is the female's POV, and Walking Disaster is the male's POV, like the MMC. Do you know what's funny? I actually want to swap this round. I want to put Walking Disaster, I'd stand by it, and Beautiful Disaster in the bin. I would bin it. I know that I just went on that little ramble, but just remembering the emotions that I felt in Walking Disaster kind of hit me harder. And I think, yeah, I would stand by the 5-star rating for that. Apart from if I had read Walking Disaster first, I think it would be like, I get it, or like would say From a Burning House. But because I obviously read Beautiful Disaster first and I'd already known the storyline, I can't, if that makes sense. So I would put Beautiful Disaster in bin it, didn't deserve the 5-star. I need to be headfirst in the bin. And I would put Walking Disaster by Jamie Maguire in, yeah, I'll stand by that. Okay. So everything that's left down here that you guys can see is all the stuff that I've read over the past almost 2 years. So I'm gonna try and go in order of like the stuff that I read last year to now. I'm trying to think what I read first. Okay, I have them organized the way that I want to have them organized now. Okay, so Hooked was the first book that I read last year that got me back into reading, by Emily McIntyre. I also just completely loved that entire series. I'm going to move Hexed up here as well. Like I said, we're just going to do them in the groups of the series. So this is the first book of the Never After series by Emily McIntyre. They're a series of standalones, but they all follow like a reimagining or retelling of our favorite childhood stories. This is like, I get it. This is, I would put it in I get it. I'd probably put it right at the top because it's like borderline, would put it in Would Say From a Burning House. But yeah, like I get it. I still love this book. I think about it, well actually I do think about it, but I can't remember specific details, and I would love to do a reread of it now to know what I think of it now that like my taste has changed, or not changed but maybe developed, and I know specifically what I like and don't like, and it would be interesting to see that. My dog's freaking tippy tappy is annoying me. Then we also have Wretched, which is the third book in the same series. Again, not connected, not interconnected, they're complete standalones. Also, I should say that Hooked is like a Peter Pan reimagining slash retelling, and Wretched is Wicked Witch of the West, hence why it's green like it is. And this one is like, I would say, from A Burning House. It is still my favorite. I still remember what happened in that book. I still love it to this day. I love the girl being portrayed as the bad guy, and you know, she gets the guy at the end rather than like the bad boy gets the good girl. It was like the bad girl gets the good guy, and it's really cute. And it sounds, I haven't read the Mind F series by St. Abbey, but it sounds very similar in terms of like she works for her dad in like a mafia Irish, I think it's actually the Irish mob. He is the FBI agent assigned to her case, so it's obviously like a Wicked Witch of the West and Mind F retelling, reimagining sort of thing, and I really loved it, still love it. So yeah, then we have the sixth and final book in that series, which is Hexed by Emily McIntyre, and this is a Little Mermaid reimagining slash retelling. So you have Enzo, which is supposed to be Prince Eric. You have, I'm pretty sure her name's Vanessa, but her nickname is Ursa. So like she's Ursula. And then you have, I forget what name, Aria maybe? I can't remember what her name is, but like Ariel. You have like a little bit of a love triangle. Again, you have a lot of these are sort of like mafia type romances, which I love mafia romances anyway. But this book also holds a really special place in my heart because we weren't sure we were going to get it. If you guys don't know Emily McIntyre, she has been battling cancer for quite a while, and when she wrote this book she was actually in treatment for it, and we weren't sure we were going to get this book. And the little author's note at the end is really beautiful, and she talks about how, like, you know, this one's for her readers and for her fans, and she just really appreciates the love and support. So, and there's even videos of her on TikTok delivering published versions of this to some of her cancer ward nurses, which I think is really beautiful. So might be a little bit biased, but I would also say this one from A Burning House as well. I love the story, like the actual story itself and the writing, and I think she does a really good job of delivering dark romance in a softer way. Not so much a softer way, that's not the right way to put it, but in a more digestible way. Like if you compare those books to something like Haunting and Hunting Adeline, it is delivered in a much more digestible way. It's not quite as hard, it's not quite as difficult to get through. You do still have like pretty rough scenes in them, whether that be like spicy scenes or like just general scenes in those books. She just has done an awesome job with this entire series, and I love the series. But yeah, Hex definitely holds a special place in my heart because I discovered her before she had published that, and you know, I was following her on TikTok through her journey and all that, and getting to read the author's note in that book really just made the book as well. Then we go on to Twisted Love by Anna Huang. I'm going straight into like, girl, are you okay? I don't like Anna Huang's writing. I have read the entire Twisted series. I will not be picking up anything else by her. You guys would have seen I did get rid of, or I donated King of Wrath, I think it is, the first book in the Kings of Sin series by Anna Huang. I will not be reading it. I will not be reading anything else by Anna Huang. I didn't hate this series, but I hated her writing. So I think the story in the 4 books was really let down because of her style of writing. She is very repetitive. She says a lot of stuff that is very one, either repetitive or like used a lot of times across like other books or other authors use it. It's just, there's nothing new and exciting and inviting about her writing to me, and she is a writer that I have written off, not for any like scandalous reason or anything like that. It's just not for me. Her writing style is not for me. Her language that she uses is not for me, which is fine. That's totally fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But yeah, her writing style is just not for me, and that's okay. I think reading is very subjective, and yeah, but that's why I've put it in Girl, Are You Okay? I don't think it deserved the 5-star rating because of the writing issues that I discovered. I think I just hadn't read enough to pick up on those, and because this was like the 3rd book I think I saw. This hair, I'm so sorry, is so annoying and I can't do anything about it. Let me see if I can. Yeah, so I just don't think I had enough material that I had read to be able to give her an appropriate rating. So thinking back to it and the rest of the series, I would probably rate this more like a 4-star. I would probably rate Twisted Games maybe like a 2.5, 3. Twisted Hate, I would probably rate like a 3.5, 4. And Twisted Lies, I would probably rate like a 3.5 or 4 as well. So just all of them are not my fave. Then we go into my favorite series, one of my favorite series of all time. Since I read this, have read every book twice. Since the first time I've read it. We have Fourth Wing, Iron Flame, and Onyx Storm. I'm just trying to think of how to break these down. This is like one of my god tier series, especially for like more of an entry level fantasy. We're gonna get into a high fantasy in a minute, but for an entry level fantasy, I think these books are absolutely fantastic, and I would run into a burning house to save these books. I love all 3 of them. I think all 3 of them are 5-star reads. However, I do think that Fourth Wing is probably going to go into Would Save from a Burning House, and Iron Flame I'd put into I Get It, and Onyx Storm would go back into Would Save from a Burning House. However, because they're all in the same spot, I would end up saving all 3. However, if I had to break it down, that's how I would break it down. I think that Fourth Wing was so strong, such an easy introduction into the world, and again, she leaves on really good cliffhangers, and that's through all of the books so far that are out. I'm itching for the 4th book in the series, but I get why she can't write it yet. I get it. I would rather her take her time and deliver something that's just amazing rather than trying to rush something that she is not ready to write. So there's videos I've seen going around where she's like, I almost offed Violet and then we wouldn't have had a story. So take your time, Rebecca Yarros, take your time, write a good book, because I can't wait for it. Iron Flame, again, I still loved it. I still think about it all the time. I think there's so many Easter eggs in Iron Flame that even though I've read it twice, I think if I went back and read it a 3rd time, which I probably will next year, I think I would pick up more stuff that indicates stuff into Onyx Storm. I think Onyx Storm as well had a lot of Easter eggs. We'll get to that in a minute though. But yeah, Iron Flame, I think it did fall a little bit privy to like 2nd book syndrome. It was a little bit slower. We got a lot more lore, a lot more politics and understanding all of that to do with the world. So I think it did get a little bit of that 2nd book syndrome that, you know, we talk about, where the 1st book is like up here, and then we kind of drop down a little bit for the 2nd book because we're getting all this backstory and information that we need to know, and then, you know, the rest of the series kind of comes back up. But I think it was important and necessary to have that. So that's why it still gets a 5-star rating from me, and that's why it gets an I get it. Like, I get the rating. I get it. I get it. And then obviously we have Onyx Storm. Yep, would run into a burning building. As you guys would have seen, the day I'm filming this is day 10 of Bookmas, and Zayden got spot 2 of my Book Boyfriends Awards. So I love this series. I love Onyx Storm. Onyx Storm was so gut-wrenching. I'm so excited for book 4, especially with the way that it ended, like Onyx Storm ended. And again, I think that Onyx Storm has so many little Easter eggs into what's to come in the next 2 books. I think that as much as we got a lot more questions, we also got a lot of answers, and I think a lot of people have missed a lot of answers. So keep an eye out. I do have a like Onyx Storm reading vlog coming. I'm hoping that it'll be up in January. It's going to be up like 12 months after reading it, almost. Me and Book Bestie did a buddy read of it, and I know I've said this a couple of times on my channel, but like I am in the process of editing it. It's just a really long one to edit, okay? We're getting there. I'm hoping to have it up next month, so in January. Then we have the 1st book in the Powerless trilogy. So Powerless by Lauren Roberts. Look, this is gonna ruffle some feathers. I do really enjoy this story. Do I think it's worthy of the 5-star rating I gave it? No. Do I think it deserves to be binned, or I need to be binned for the 5-star rating? No. So I'm going to put it in Girl, Are You Okay? And I'm actually going to put it up a little bit higher. I'm going to put it right at the top. And the reason for that is the characters in it so lovable, so enjoyable. The silly haha good time, so lovable, so enjoyable. The magic system, so enjoyable, so easy to understand, and like the concept of having this ordinary girl with no magic winning a series of games and trials where it's illegal for her to be alive and exist and she should be dead. I think that whole concept is really beautiful, and yeah, I really think the story was really good. However, she's a new author. This is like, I'm pretty sure this is her first published book. Actually, I think it's the first book she's ever written. I think she wrote this when she was 18. She's not 18 anymore. She's in her 20s now, I believe. But she wrote this originally when she was 18. So like I understand why the language is a bit younger. Also, it's a young adult book, so which is fine. I don't think you need spice for a book to be good and interesting. I just think that because this was her first ever book that she's written, the plotting was a little bit off, or she used a few phrases from other books that were almost direct copies, or like too close. Not so much plagiarizing, just like the way she did it. It was just a little bit too close for my liking, but I think that the storyline was really good. So we're gonna put it in Girl, Are You Okay? But yeah, I don't think it deserves to be binned. Next we have A Feather So Black. So A Feather So Black is a really, really high fantasy book. It's very complicated, very complex. I have started reading When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker, and I can say that it gives very similar vibes to this book. So if you've read When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker, this book will give you very, very similar vibes in terms of the level of high fantasy. So like complicated writing, very different, like very, very folklore based, especially for this one, it is about fays. So it's very, very folklore based. It's also very like the world building is very complex and the language is very complex, and it's very, I don't know how to explain it, but I'm not saying that you need to be smart to read it. Anyone can understand it, but it definitely has that like you need to have your brain on and pay attention to what's going on, because there is so much going on and it is so like complex and high fantasy. So this is another, I feel like we've got so many, but I do have so many that won't be going in there. So I'm gonna put this one, I'm just thinking compared to like some of the other books that I've read. No, this is gonna go into like, I would save it from A Burning House, because I would. This is one of my favorite fantasy books of all time. I am in the middle of reading the next one, which is A Crown So Silver, and the next book, the third and final book in this trilogy, called the Fair Folk trilogy, is called A Heart So Green, and it comes out in January. So like I really want to get A Crown So Silver done so I can read the next book and finish this series. But yeah, it's one that I would definitely come in. And like, sorry, look at that cover, like as if you wouldn't run into a burning building to save it. Okay, the next one I have is The Sweetest Obsession by Danielle Laurie. This is a dark mafia romance. Well, it's a dark romance mafia, and I remember loving this book when I read it. I don't think it's deserving of the 5 stars now, so I'm gonna put it in Girl, Are You Okay? I am gonna put it further up the top because I don't think it's that bad, but yeah, it's not deserving of that. It's still a great book, don't get me wrong, but again, it was one of those books that I read really early on and I didn't have other stuff to compare it to, whereas now, you know, like I've read over 100 books over the past 2 years. I've read over 80 books just this year alone, so I have a lot more knowledge and understanding of other books and what I like and what is really good and 5 stars compared to what's not. So The Sweetest Oblivion, not The Sweetest Obsession, it's The Sweetest Oblivion. Yes, Sweetest Oblivion is what that one's called. It's just sweet. That's a go in to see. Then we have The Darkest Temptation. Again, I only read that this year, but I just wanted to put all the series next to each other so I could see it, and I rated that 5 stars, and this is a great captive captor romance. I love it, and I'm gonna put it in, yeah, I'll stand by it, because I would stand by that. I think it's very deserving of the 5 stars. I do understand like the hype that it gets, and yeah, like all that sort of stuff. So next we have Neon Gods by Katie Robert. This was the first book by Katie Robert that I ever read, and I really, really loved it. And even thinking back to it, this was one of the first ones that I read that changed my mind on dark romance. So like for Hooked and for The Sweetest Oblivion, like it was something that like elevated it, and like for Wretched and stuff as well. It was something that like elevated my expectation of dark romance. Neon Gods was really, really good, and I'm gonna put it at the top of I Get It because I get it. I think that this book is so underhyped as well. I don't think it gets enough love. Even the whole series in general, I don't think it gets enough love, and I really, really love it. So, and then following on from that, we have the second book in that series. This series, by the way, Neon Gods and Electric Idol, is called the Dark Olympus series, and Electric Idol is the second book in that. And I'm gonna put it in I'll stand by it, because I would stand by it. I'm just shuffling some of these around, and I'm putting it right at the top there because it's borderline, like, I get it and I'd stand by it, and I would stand by it. I'm still gonna stand by that 5-star rating. There's a mirror scene in this because it's Eros and Psyche, and it's just really good. Also, should also mention that with the Dark Olympus series by Katie Robert, it is a like retelling, like modern retelling of like Greek mythology, and I really love it. So Neon Gods is Hades and Persephone, and Electric Idol is Eros and Psyche, and Wicked Beauty is the third one. I haven't read it yet. Is Helen of Troy, Achilles, and Patroclus, I believe. I think it's Achilles, but I have to check. I think it's Achilles. Hang on, let me look. Yes, it is Achilles. I was correct. And Greek mythology is some of my favorite mythology, so that's, I suppose, a little bit biased as well for these ones, but anywho. Next up we have Haunting and Hunting Adeline. Now, I always feel really awkward reading books that talk about really tough topics like this, but I think that it is important to still rate them because I think that they can be delivered in a positive way or a negative way. For example, Haunting and Hunting Adeline, don't think that the messages behind them were delivered in the most positive way or the most deliverable way. However, I still really enjoyed the book, especially the dark romance aspect of it. At the time, this was like one of the darkest books I had ever read. That's definitely changed nowadays. But Haunting Adeline, I am gonna put it in, yeah, I'll stand by that because I would stand by that. I think that Haunting Adeline is great. Obviously it's a very particular taste in book. I do know that like Book Bestie, he hasn't even finished the book yet, but he's like, it's just not for me. He is gonna finish it because he is interested to see, and I have said to him like, look, it's a duet. You kind of need to read both books to kind of get an understanding. It's almost like one book. You need to read both to understand everything that happens in the first book with the second book. So yeah, like, it's still a good book. It's a good duology, or a good duet, sorry, I should say. It's a good duet, and yeah, like, I do really enjoy it. Hunting Adeline, I am gonna put it in I get it, but at the end, so like it would almost go into yeah, I'll stand by it. And the reason being is it was so gut-wrenching. The stuff that is spoken about in Hunting Adeline is so much more intense than Haunting Adeline, and people don't mention that enough. I really try to, whenever I talk about Hunting and Haunting Adeline, I try to, you know, emphasize that you really, really need to read your trigger warnings before going into this series, because Hunting Adeline is brutal. I do not get triggered easily. Out of all of the books I've ever read, this is the only one that I had to physically put down to take a break. And it's because of a particular scene that happens in it that something similar had happened to me in the past, and it obviously triggered me. But I have read other essay scenes and it doesn't trigger me like that. So the way that this comes across, you almost feel like you're in it, and it is really brutal. However, I get it. Like, I get why it was written like that. I get why the story was delivered in such a way. I don't think that it was written in the most positive way in terms of like getting that, you know, awareness out there. However, I still get it because of what the books are about. So yeah, I'd put it in I get it. Then we have the Nightborn duet by Carissa Broadbent. The Serpent and the Wings of Night is the first one, and I still think about Rain and Araya so much. Especially, I have like two things, like one or two things from each book, and the first one is just really, really sweet and beautiful, you know, reading about their like falling in love and all that sort of stuff. So it is really beautiful. I think I'm gonna put The Serpent and the Wings of Night in yeah, I'll stand by it. I would still rate it 5 stars. And the second book, which is The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, unpopular opinion, I actually would put it in I get it, because watching them mend a relationship is really, really sweet and beautiful. And there's like just a couple of scenes in there of Araya finding out who she is and coming into that really is beautiful and really hit home for me. So for me, it's I get it. Like, I would still I would still rate it 5 stars thinking back on it. And I know that's an unpopular opinion. Like, I'm aware that's an unpopular opinion. These two. We have the first 2 books in the Lord series. So The Ritual and The Sinner by Chantal Tessier. Now, The Ritual, I'm trying to think of where I want to put them. I I think they're both gonna go in I'll stand by it, and I'm gonna put them right in the middle because I would stand by it. I still love those. Again, some of the dark romance that I've read, not in terms of dark topics, but like dark spice. There's really, really heavy BDSM in there. Love BDSM. It's a trope that I love in any dark romance book. And yeah, I would put both of them in. I'll stand by it. They're definitely my 2 favorite in the series. I think I've only read the first 3 so far. So like the Sinner, the Ritual, the Sinner, and the Sacrifice. I didn't like the Sacrifice so much. I just thought it was a little bit meh. Whereas the Ritual and the Sinner, I'm probably gonna, actually, you know what, I'm gonna put the Sinner up one because I preferred the Sinner over the Ritual, but I still really loved both. Like Sin and Riot, great. Then we have The Other Brother. Oh my god, I've only got 1 in Bennett. How crazy is that? And to be honest, out of everything that's in here, actually no, there's probably 1 that will be in Bennett. But anyway, The Other Brother by Tyranny Page. If you don't know who Tyranny Page is, she's really popular on TikTok. She does really funny book reviews, and I love her to death. I think she's really, really great. I know that her second book in this series comes out next year, and apparently she's wrote 3. I think she's written 3, and there's probably going to be more, which I thought there was only going to be 2, but I'm keen for it. Give me more. Like, I love her spice. The way her humor came across is really good. However, I'm just thinking back to it, and I don't think, because it was her debut novel, it's the first one that she's ever written, and I don't know, thinking back to it, that it was deserving of the 5 stars. I think maybe like a 4.75 or like a 4.5. I just think it was missing that something, that little something to make it like really, really good. So I'm gonna put it in Girl, Are You Okay, but right at the top, because it was just missing that little sprinkling of something to really make it really good. Then we have, oh, I'm really about to ruffle some feathers with this. Then we have A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J Maas, which is the second book in the ACOTAR series, and I'm putting it in Bennett. Sorry, I'm gonna put Beautiful Disaster after it, but I love Recent now, and we'll get to that in a minute. However, I don't think A Court of Mist and Fury was all that it was cracked up to be. Yes, towards the end, when you get to the cabin, that's all I'm gonna say, like the cabin scene in the last like quarter of the book, yes, it gets really good. But I felt the same way with ACOTAR. Like, why am I waiting till the last 100 pages of this book to get really good? I don't want to be waiting that long. Like, do something else. And that's really bothered me. And thinking back to it, I wouldn't rate that 5 stars. I don't think it's worthy of the 5 stars. I think it's worthy of like a 4.5, 4.25 even. And like everyone goes on about how good Reese is in this book and blah, blah, blah. Man, he was still a dick up until chapter 53. Like, no, he was an asshole. And like, we're also trying to write him off as like, he's doing it to be protective and blah, blah, blah. Like, we're writing it in that he's being this way to be protective and look out for her and blah. No, like, fuck off. Be a dick and own it. Or like, don't be a dick. Pick one. We're gonna get to another book where the Shadow Daddy does that, and like, I'll explain what I mean. However, moving on to A Court of Wings and Ruin. This one is definitely deserving of the Would Save from a Burning House, because again, for an entry-level fantasy, something that's really easy to understand, it's actually quite accurate as well with the folklore around Fae. That's what folklore is. But yeah, so it's quite accurate with the folklore. There is obviously little things that are tweaked just for like storytelling purposes, but it is pretty accurate with the folklore. Myself and Book Bestie are very much into those things, and you know, we've spoken about this. He's read it. I told him that he needed to keep reading past ACOTAR and Akamath. I said, you need to get to A Court of Wings and Ruin. You would really love that book. And he's actually gone on to read Akafas as well, and he said he really enjoyed Akafas as well because it was very much needed after this. But this book was something else in terms of, it gave me that, like, I don't know how to explain it, but just like the feeling of, what is this? Like, this is so beautiful. I think that the way Reese changes in this book and actually treats Feyre as his equal, and you know, I'm not going to spoil it too much, but if you've read ACOTAR and Akamath, you know what happens at the end of Akamath and what Feyre becomes. And I think that that is when he actually starts treating her as an equal, rather than his property or something to control, or like a game, like a chess piece. Even though like it all comes out about the mates situation, I'm like, that's not a spoiler, like it's everywhere. And it's so easy to pick up with some of these fantasy series. But I don't like it when fated mates are you know, described in such a way that like the males just go absolutely nuts. Like I get it, but like they don't need to go that crazy and they don't need to be that possessive, you know? I just think that in this, the growth for Reese is just so astronomical compared to the first two books, and I think it really changed the way I thought and felt about him. And this is also one of the first times that we see Feyre be really strong, and you know, again, if you've read ACOTAR and ACOMAF, you know what she becomes. And I think that this is the first time that we get to see her in that element and her be like, no, like I have these powers, I got this, I want to be good and I want to train and I want to be strong. And I think it's the first time that, yes, obviously she was doing like the hunting and stuff for her family, but I think this is the first time that we actually see her be that and like be strong and turn into this. And yeah, I really love Aqua War. It's my favorite book in the series so far. I haven't read A Court of Silver Flames. I do really want to read that this year coming, but Aqua War is my favorite. Then we move on to The Last Dragon King by Leah Stone. Leah Stone is an author that I discovered at the end of last year, and she's actually become an author that I really like. I have heard that people think she writes with AI. I just think some people can smash out books really fast. I don't think she writes with AI. Just from the way that it's plotted, it seems like a pretty, like the way it's plotted seems like human error and not computer error, if that makes sense, for a lot of her books. And also there's another series that we're going to talk about in a minute that I've got this book in there twice, so just ignore the second one. I just put it at the bottom. There is another series that she's in, co-wrote with someone else, and you can see the differences in language between the two authors. Not so much that you feel like you're reading completely different authors, but you can definitely tell that there's a slight difference between the writing style and language used. So I don't think that she writes using AI. I could be wrong. I don't want like no one take my word for it, but just from what I read, I don't think that she does. I know she's a little bit controversial at the moment because of that, but I still really like her books. So with The Last Dragon King, I remember listening to this on audio, and I think this was the first one that was like a little bit more spicy. It's not quite YA. I remember listening to it and being like, this is really good. The storyline was really good. The plot was really good. The like very mild spicy scenes was really good. And I remember really enjoying it. You've got like shape-shifting dragons, you've got like royalty bloodlines, you've got lost royalty. And I remember being like, these are tropes that I really like. And you know, some of them were the first ones that I had read. And yeah, just really enjoyed it. I remember really enjoying it. So I think I'm going to put it in, yeah, I'll stand by it because it is one that I think I would stand by. Then we go into Rival Darling by Alexandra Moody. This is a YA romance, and literally so YA that like both of the main characters are in high school. They're 17, 18 years old, and we have huge miscommunication trope that goes all the way through it. However, this book was done really well, and yeah, I'd stand by it. I would very much stand by it. I think it is deserving of the 5 stars. I think that the plotting was done really well. I think that the language used was done really well. I think that the miscommunication trope was done correctly. Even though it did lead to a third act breakup, there was miscommunication the whole way through, and we're also dealing with 17-year-olds. So like, I get it. I get the fact that they're like that. So yeah, I would put it in the middle there. Then we have For Whom the Bell Tolls by JC Lynn. This was such a random book that I picked up this year and then realized that I used to watch her skits on TikTok. Sorry, I keep banging the table. But yeah, I used to watch her skits on TikTok, and then she wrote a book about it, which I think is really cool. And I love this book. It has become a god tier book for me this year. And I just think that the messaging in it and the romance in it and just everything about this book I really love, and it's going in wood safe from a burning house because I absolutely love this book. I just think it is so amazing, and you know, there's certain scenes in this book that I just always think about that make me cackle, like absolutely cackle. So then we're going to go on to Binding and Keeping 13. Binding and Keeping 13 is the first duet in the Boys of Tommen series. It follows Johnny and Shannon, and I really related to this duet specifically. I've related to all of the books in the series so far. If you guys saw my Boys of Tommen reading vlog, you'll understand why, but like I've struggled with a lot of things in the past in terms of like being essayed, and I've struggled with addiction in the past. Like I really related to this. I also, slight spoiler, not huge, if you guys guys are switched on and you read Binding and Keeping 13, you'll pick it up really quickly, because I did. But I also like fell pregnant at 24, so like I wasn't old, but I wasn't young as well, still in uni, still trying to like, you know, do all of that. So I could also relate to Aoife as well. These books really hit home for me, especially these two. Again, if you've seen my Boys of Tom and Reading vlog, you would have seen the absolute mess I was reading Keeping 13 specifically. So I'm gonna put Binding 13 in I Get It, because I would, yes, 100%. But Keeping 13 is going in Would Save from a Burning House, and it's going right up there. I am tossing up between, I don't know what I'm going to rate as my favorite for the year, but it's like between Keeping 13 and Onyx Storm at the moment, and For Whom the Bell Tolls. Like, I don't know. And I'm pretty sure I read For Whom the Bell Tolls and Keeping 13 in the same month, so it's really difficult to figure out which one I want to do, which is a great problem to have. Yeah, like I couldn't live without those books. Like I really couldn't. They're just so beautiful. Anyway, continuing on, the next one we have is The Right Move by Liz Tomforty, and I'm just going to move all of the Windy City books up. We'll just do them all at once. This is book 2 in the Windy City series. This is Ryan and Indy's story, and if you guys saw my Book Boyfriends awards, Ryan Shea came in at 3rd place for my like top 3 book boyfriends of the year, and it's just because of the quiet love that he gives out to Indy. And you know, there's a quote in the book that says like, I really should just tell her that my love language is whatever she wants it to be, so she can stop guessing. And I think that is how we should all be with our significant others. I love this book. This is gonna go in I Get It, because I do get it and I really love it. And then we have Caught Up by Liz Tomforty. This is book 3 of the Windy City series, so it goes after The Right Move. Again, really beautiful story. I think that the highlight of this story is the found family, specifically with Monty, Miller, Max, and Kai. I think that the little family unit that they all have, Monty is Miller's dad and Max is Kai's son, and obviously Kai and Miller are the love interests, the FMC and the MMC. And I just think that the little family that they've built, Isaiah is also included in that as well. I just think that the little family that they've built between the 5 of them is just really beautiful, and you see that develop throughout the book, how it's so like separate and then it kind of comes together, and I just think it's really beautiful, and that's the highlight of this book for me. This one I would put in, yeah, I'll stand by it, and I would put it right at the front, like right at the top there. Again, it's just a really great book all around. I think Liz Tomforty just does an excellent job. Then we have Play Along, which is the 4th book in the Windy City series. This is Isaiah and Kennedy's story, and he's just the biggest golden retriever, and I absolutely love him. He actually got the Golden Retriever Award in my Book Boyfriend awards this year. I think Kai got the Selfless Award as well. So like literally all 3 of these that I read this year, they all got award this year, because they're really good books, and the characters are written really well. So, but Isaiah is just so funny, and everyone always talks about how obsessed the song Obsessed by Mariah Carey is like a thing in their head for this song, and I get it now. I get it after reading this, and I think that this book is very deserving of the 5-star rating that it got from me, and I'm gonna put it in, yeah, I'll stand by that. It's, as much as I love that book, there's just something little, like I said, with the way that Ryan is towards Indy and how he's like, I will literally show you love in however the hell you want me to. There's something about that just puts it above the rest of the books in the series. And look, on a different day-to-day basis, these 3 kind of swap as to which one's my favorite, but right now, and thinking about that one specific thing, that's just what gets me about Ryan Shea, also whose dirty talk is chef's kiss. Now, this one, Spiral by Bal Cabra. Now, this is the 2nd book in the Off the Ice series. It comes after Collide. I was listening to this on Audible, and I think I was wrapped up in other 5-star reads. I think that this was when I was reading like For Whom the Bell Tolls, The Last Dragon King. I was having a lot of 5-star reads, and I think I got wrapped up in that. And upon reflection and doing like a little bit of a skim read of it after hearing other reviews and skim reading it, this is going in the bin. I actually think the book needs to go in the bin. Okay, this is my thing. It's not just because of the main conflict in it, which was he was celibate and she had an issue with that, because in The Right Move, he is like, Ryan is also celibate, but Indy doesn't have a huge problem with it, if that makes sense. So it's a little bit easier to digest. But she, like in Spiral, she had a really I think it's Sage is her name. She had a really big problem with him being celibate. And I kind of missed over that when I was listening to it, and when I kind of did like a little mini reread of it and just kind of like skim read a few chapters, I realized how much of an issue that was. And yeah, I wouldn't be rating it 5 stars. I wouldn't be rating it anywhere near 5 stars now. Like, I need to go headfirst into the bin, and that needs to go headfirst into the bin, because I think that's a really sad reason to cause a huge conflict in a book, or for that to be the main conflict. Okay, next up we have Broken Hearted by Leah Stone and Julie Hall. Again, this author is something that I've really found at the end of last year and this year, and I just really, really love her books. And this book originally, I didn't rate it 5 stars. However, when I was writing my little review in my book journal, or my reading journal, sorry, I didn't have anything negative to say about it. I think when I first read it, I was saying that I didn't like that it was kind of a little bit love triangle-y and like moved a little bit slowly, but upon reflection and when I was writing that, I actually really, really loved it and think it deserves the 5-star rating. I think that the story and the romance between Adrian and Isolde, I just think that like what they had to go through to get together was really, really beautiful compared to the other people, like individually what they had to go through. And I think it was really, really beautiful. And yeah, I'd stand by it. That's one that I would put in. I stand by. I'll stand by that rating 100%. And then we have the 4th book in that series, the 4th and final book in that series, which is Black Hearted by Leah Stone and Julie Hall. And again, the way that this series wrapped up, this almost, it wasn't split into 2 parts, but it almost had a 2-part thing. So you obviously had the FMC and the MMC like coming together, and then you had the resolution to the problem that has spread across all 4 books. Now, this series is a series of interconnected standalones, so they all follow different characters, but there's a major plot line that runs through each, which is a curse that resides over these realms. And that's not a spoiler, you find that out pretty early on in the 1st book. But the resolution and the wrap up to this problem was really, really nice, and I really really enjoyed seeing the relationship blossom between Zane and I forget her name now too. Again, this is another one where like I'll stand by it. I think it's really solid. I think it really deserves that, and yeah, I would stand by that. Then we have Quicksilver. I loved Quicksilver. I'm still reading Brimstone at the moment. I've been in a little bit of a reading slump. I'm not sure why, but I have been. So that's really frustrating, but I did read Quicksilver this year and I'm obsessed with it. I'm still in the middle of Brimstone. I will finish it eventually, but I need to find something to pique my interest at the moment. But Quicksilver, this is what I was talking about by like a shadow daddy that's just a dick, and he owns that he's a dick. Like, he's not sorry for it. He calls her out on his shit, and on her shit, sorry. And he just owns it. He owns that he's a dick. So I'm putting this in would save from a burning house, because I would run into it and save it from a burning house. Absolutely. It's like become one of my favorite books of all time. I'm pretty sure he got #1 book boyfriend of this year. So that's saying something. Then we have Grimstone by Sophie Lark. This is the 2nd book that I've read by her ever and this year, and I actually really enjoyed it. I wasn't expecting to enjoy it the way that I did. I also wasn't expecting it to be the type of book that it was. I would say it's almost like a dark paranormal romance almost, because there is definitely some thriller elements in there. So I really loved this book, loved it way more than I thought I would, and I'm gonna put it in I get it, because I do get it, and like I really enjoyed the book. So then we have That's Not My Name by Megan Lally. Tell me why this book had me sobbing. This book had me sobbing. I remember absolutely crying my eyes out when we got to the end and the plot twist and all that sort of stuff, and yeah, like I said, I was sobbing, and I'm gonna put it in, yeah, I'll stand by it. I would absolutely stand by that rating. I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't take it away. And I think it's a really, really solid mystery thriller. And it's also a YA mystery thriller too. So like, for it to grip me the way it did, chef's kiss. Then we have Pen Pal by JT Geisinger. Now, this was so good. I, again, did not expect to like this as much as I did. I also didn't expect it to be what it was. What you read on the back is not at all what you think you're getting, and it was fantastic. This is gonna go in I get it, because I do get it. I get the hype around this book. I think more people need to read this book. It is very particular with tastes because of the dark romance elements in it. It's a dark paranormal romance, and look, it's really, really good. Very, very good, and absolutely obsessed with it. So happy that I read that this year. And then we have Deadly Occupants by Mads Rafferty, and this is a paranormal suspense thriller, and this is a book, another book I would say from a burning house. However, I'm gonna put it down towards the end. It's like one of the last ones I would grab, if that makes sense. But I still would save it from a bedding house, especially from an indie published author that has, I think she's written 3 fantasy books in one series, then this, then a ice hockey romance, I believe is what she's written, and they're all indie published. And this was amazing. I did not see the plot twist coming. And then the ending, if you could even call that like a second plot twist for a different storyline, because we almost had like 2 plots going on. I did not see that coming. I thought we were done and dusted, and no. And I hope she writes a second book so we can find out about it. This, I would say, is like Paranormal Activity meets, she often references like Pretty Little Liars, but I wouldn't say that. I don't think it's quite Pretty Little Liars-esque. It kind of is, like it's got some elements of that, but it's almost like slasher or like Scream. Like Scream meets Paranormal Activity is what I would say. It more is like, I would say it's more like Scream meets Paranormal Activity to me, with a few like sprinklings of Pretty Little Liars in there. Obviously it's like 4 girls, you know, 5 girls for Pretty Little Liars. So I am pretty happy with that ranking system, or the rankings that we've done there. Unfortunately, to these 3 down the bottom, I am sorry for A Court of Mist and Fury. I just really don't think it's worth the 5-star. I do think it's worth the hype that it gets, because it's definitely a better book in the series, but I just don't think that it's that good. I think that A Court of Wings and Ruin is way better, so that's why that's in Bennett. That is the end of today's video. I hope you guys did enjoy. That was really fun to do, to sort of break down all of the 5-star reads. I don't think that I missed any. I think that was all of them. I may have missed a couple. I don't know, but I'm pretty happy with that. If you guys did enjoy the video, make sure you please like and subscribe and turn on the notification bell, and check out Bookmas content, because we have just finished that. I think this is the first video that I'm putting up after Bookmas, which Bookmas was really hard, you guys. I really enjoyed it, but it was really hard. So like, please go over there and show some love to my Bookmas content. I do have a playlist with all of my Bookmas content, so make sure you go over there and show it some love, because like that was a lot of work to put in, and it was really hard to film, and I'm really proud of it. I think that they all came out really good. There's a couple of videos that probably could have used a little bit of extra work, but I was under time constraints to get it done. If you don't already follow me on TikTok and Instagram, make sure you head over there and follow me over there. My goal next year is to be way more active over there on both of them. I am not active over there at all, so I need to start being more active over there. So head over there and follow me on those. They'll also be linked in the description below. I always put the names on the screen, but the links straight to them are in the description under socials. You do have to scroll down a little bit, because I just put like a description and any books mentioned first. And if you do want any annotated books by me, my Etsy shop is always linked on the screen, as well as a link to my Etsy shop is always in the description below as well. And that is it from me today. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye. Mwah.